Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Tabor Smith. I want to welcome you to a very special interview series that we're doing with the speakers of the Chiropractic Thought Leaders Seminar. This seminar is coming up February 26th and 27th, 2016. You're definitely going to want to be there. The speaker that I have that we're interviewing today is Dr. Dan Sullivan. He's the chiropractic advocate. And if you're watching in from a video, you can just simply scroll down below this video. You'll see all the information. You'll see his topics as well as the other speakers' topics. And you'll have a chance to get your tickets now. If you are listening in by audio, then what I want you to do is go to chirothoughtleaders.com/Sullivan. That's Sullivan in honor of Dr. Sullivan himself. So go check that page out, get your tickets. Make sure you get them soon because we will sell out. But we just want to interview these speakers and give you some tips, some strategies that you can start implementing today, and you don't have to wait until this seminar, even though the seminar is going to be practice changing, it's going to be life changing, and you want to be there. You're going to grab tips and strategies from each one of these speakers that you can implement to start reaching more people. So that being said, I want to introduce our speaker, Dr. Dan Sullivan. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know this will just be a quick interview, but for people who may not know you or what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'll keep that brief because I think I think let's just start with as most importantly what I'm most passionate about, and that's making sure chiropractors are equipped, they feel trained, they understand, and then they have all the resources to go out in their community and boldly proclaim the power of what we do in chiropractic. I just believe that it's time that we stop getting, considering ourselves second rate, stop that, the world believes that we're some sort of alleviation for back pain, and really not only look at the evidence, but look at, or I should say the results, but look at the evidence. We had results for 120 years. And Dr. Tabor, we're not getting results from, there's a lot of things. So I really like the science only for one reason, because it's irrefutable. And if you look at the science, it's even better than the research. But the science, if you look at Guyton's physiology, you sit there and you dial down what is the purpose of the spine. So I don't mean to kind of jump right into it, but I feel like with
go ahead.
It's less about me and more about what we're going to try to accomplish here with the seminar, and more importantly, what you as a doctor are out there. Those of you listening, like I want you to think about this. I often get questions. I've been traveling, pretty crazy the last 6 months. I've been in, close to 20 cities. I've spoken to thousands of chiropractic students. My ears to the ground. I'm hearing what's kind of going on in the trenches, across the, not just here, not just the United States, but even over in Europe as well. And the one thing that I challenge chiropractors to say this: number one, the research actually shows, the science of the research shows that chiropractic is more proven to improve visceral and systemic physiology than it is to help musculoskeletal back pain. So I say that again, chiropractic is more proven to help visceral systemic physiology than it is to improve musculoskeletal back pain. Yet, if you go into any one of your neighborhoods, you go into my neighborhood, your neighborhood, any city across the world, and you ask them what a chiropractor does, if they know what a chiropractor is, the thing they've connected a chiropractor to is usually one of three things, right? Tabor, you can name them for me. What are they?
Traumas, thoughts, and toxins.
I wish. But if you think about what is the majority of your patients before they come in?
Oh, back pain, neck pain, headaches.
Exactly. Back, neck, and pain.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Right. So back, maybe throw a headache in there. A good portion, maybe throw a quack in there. So the bottom line is, regardless of what we believe to be true and what we know the evidence is, they have no idea. They're still, so we want to increase our market share. We want more people to experience the benefits that, you or I, your family, my family get, but yet they don't know why they would come if they only assume, or they're led to believe that it's about bad backs. So for me, I'm really committed to changing the entire conversation. And how do we do that? I'm not saying just borrow my belief. It's not about my belief system, although that's important. Our philosophy drives the science. But what is arguably most important, because it's irrefutable, is what does the science say? That's what I get excited about. So I can go into any place. I can sit down on an airplane next to anyone. I can go into any room. I could go to a PhD neuroscientist. I could go to an MD. I could go to a nurse. I could go to a mother at home. I could go to a plumber, electrician, a banker, anybody, and I could sit and I can have a simple conversation that what we know through the research is that the spine is no longer known to be just this hard set of bones that surrounds soft neural tissue that holds you up straight, and and if it gets bad, like it starts causing pain. We're far from that. Those days are over. That's been disproven. The spine is more of a motor to the brain. The spine is, not only a lifeline to the rest of your body, but we know the spine and all its neurology that's in and around the spine literally tells the brain how to function, because it's a requirement. It's delivering nutrition, right? Proper electrical nutrition to the brain so the brain can communicate with the rest of the body. So here's the tying link, is if everybody knows, this is where this is what I'm gonna talk about the seminar, is we got to change the conversation from pain to brain. From pain to brain. If the world thinks it's about pain, but yet the literature supports that it's about the brain, then we've got our work cut out for us. So I want to I don't want to keep going different ways, but the one thing that I'm hearing on the road over and over and over and over again is, but how do you get your patients to really understand this? How do you explain it? And that's one of the things I'm going to spend a lot of time on at the seminar, because one thing is to know the research, one thing is to know the science, one thing is to be very convicted in ourselves, but it's another entirely, not different, but it's another thing to be able to actually simply communicate it to somebody in front of me, again, whichever, length of education they've been, no education, full education. And I'm going to give you the certainty to truly do that to anybody, but in simple terms. So, because I'm a simple guy, I actually don't love the, science. I'm not that, known to be, I wasn't the A student. I just like it simple, but I also like to be in any room, be irrefutable. So that's a little time.
Well, I'll tell you what, and for those of you listening, if you don't know, Dr. Dan was the author of our Bulletproof Certainty series, and he does an amazing job of explaining what chiropractic does, even explaining the science of what chiropractic does. And Dan, I had some of my patients, I play those waiting room DVDs. I play, we created the science behind chiropractic DVD, and I play these, and I actually get compliments all the time on, they say they appreciate the fact that I educate in my office. So it's not just about throwing stuff in people's face. Like, people actually appreciate it when you take the time to share, what chiropractic does and the light behind what we're doing, instead of just, adjusting and moving on, or just, letting somebody think that chiropractic is great for back pain and headaches, even if they got better from the adjustment. Educating them and letting them know what else is going on in their body is something that they really appreciate from us. I find. And
not only that, it's a game changer. There's been ample research to show that. And I'm going to actually share some studies with us, just some simple facts, some social proof as to why education is the answer. It's got to be part of the answer. I'm not saying it's the whole thing, but then the question is, where's that coming from? So now, yeah, you could throw up a DVD, but ultimately, Tabor, if you don't own that,
right,
that DVD's not with you all the time. When you go do a dinner, you go do a talk, you do a report, like this is where, so over 80% of communication is nonverbal. So these doctors, this is the question I've gotten lately, which is how, my patients maybe just don't get it, or when do you explain that, or how do you explain it? And my first thing, and they don't like to hear this necessarily, but my first thing is, listen, if you don't get it, they don't get it. If you, for instance, somebody comes in and they got low back pain, I honest to God, don't just think about that low back pain as my concern. I truly don't. Somebody coming in with neck issues or a shoulder problem, I'm not thinking about that. Based on the literature, I truly can look somebody in the eye and say, I am worried about your heart. I am worried about your brain's ability to control that heart. Because if you're already having symptoms, we know if the spine is the motor to the brain, and then the neurology around that area does feed certain areas of the body, and we have evidence to support that if that's abnormal or there's interfered with, your organ systems and specific organs will not function, and that leads to disease. So my first challenge to all chiropractors is, it's not about what you say. It's not the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's what you own. And that way you're going to, everything will change when you start to own it differently. So I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you in a simple way, help you move from A to B and then eventually B to C and so forth, so that we can actually, like when somebody says I got low back pain, I mean, you literally look them in the eye. I'm worried about your legs. I'm worried about restless leg syndrome. I'm worried about your ovaries. I'm worried about your reproduction. I'm worried about your colon. I'm worried about the digestion. I'm worried about even 10 years from now that you don't see this little bit of back issue. And therefore that allows somebody to set the stage for long-term care. That way they immediately take them from, I want to get a couple of visits to get out of this back pain, to I'm in this for the long haul. So that's where we get the issues in chiropractic. We're like, well, we're so sympathizing with the pain because we're not even taking the time. I mean, somebody say, well, we just got to worry about the pain. I get it. Sympathize with their pain, but make sure you're taking them to the next degree and not trying to bulldoze them, not trying to just, oh, I'm going to try to manipulate into this, thinking this is about your organs. It is about the organs, and I'll show you the evidence that supports that, and it's really incredible. And so, I get super stuck. Let me give you some content here. I'm been studying the immune system quite a bit lately. Lately I ran across an article that talked about the vagus nerve, and literally it's out of 2014. It was done in August of 2014, and basically it was a medical art journal that said they no longer can give a prognosis for patients with tumors. They're no longer given these prognoses just based on the size of the tumor, because what they're finding is the next thing they have to measure, and most of the standard oncologists, MD Anderson in your town probably doesn't even know this information yet. But what they're saying is, in order to give the best prognosis, what they're finding is checking vagal activity. Checking the activity of the vagus nerve leads to a better prognosis, because what they were finding in the study is that if somebody has an active vagus nerve, the prognosis is much better, even for later stage tumors, than if somebody has lesser active vagus nerve. And the way they're measuring that is through heart rate variability. So you take a step back, and this is where the literature doesn't like say, well, an adjustment helps the immune system, adjustment helps cancer. No, but take a step back. I've got 4 pieces of literature that I could show you that actually showed the link between an adjustment and the parasympathetic nervous system, and actually decreasing the tone of the sympathetics, which means you increase vagal activity. And most of those are based on HRV. So think about how crazy that is. Basically, I've just shown there's the medical studies is showing we don't know what's happening, but we know if you have an active vagus nerve, tumors aren't growing as fast and people are healing a lot faster from this stuff. This is game-changing stuff. And this just leads right into our wheelhouse to say nobody influences the nervous system, nobody influences that vagus nerve, nobody influences the sympathetic system like we do, and therefore nobody influences immune system like we do. And it's a monopoly out there. Nobody is talking about this stuff. And so this is kind of the stuff that I get, as you can tell, get pretty excited about.
Absolutely. And I love it. Are you hearing an echo here?
I don't hear an echo, huh?
Okay. So basically what I'm getting is, and because I'm always trying to implement this stuff into my life and in my practice as well. And so you share with people, with chiropractors, that we need to first get this deep inside us so that it just begins to come out. So it comes out in the exam, it comes out in our workshop, it comes out in our doctor's report, it comes out in our TikTok that we do at our table. And so I think that's vital that we understand that, because a lot of chiropractors are just looking, well, what do I say when I adjust somebody? You know what I mean?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I could get, and here's, I'll show you how crazy that statement is, because I give 10 people 10 chiropractors the same script, and I'm not getting one result that's the same.
Right.
Everybody's giving a different thing. So what's the answer? If Evan Pagan, he talks about his old dating stuff, and he was talking about on one of the DVDs, he's talking about how he used to teach these guys dating, and the first thing he would say, well, what's the line? And then he would say, it's not about the line. If the majority of your communication has nothing to do with the line. It's about, are you into that person? It's about your tone. It's about your value. What do you think about yourself? It's about, your handshake, how you carry yourself. All these things come into this. And then he goes, like, take them through this process to kind of start to break them down, get this thing. And then he goes, I push them out the door and they're ready to go out and whatever, try to get a date. And then they ask, well, what's the line? Well, what do I say? And so we have to get over that as chiropractors. But I also want to show you that and this is going to be a bomb for a lot of you, we also have to show you how the hard bone on soft nerve mentality, although it's not, it is present and it does happen, it doesn't explain the majority of results that you get in your office. And I'll walk you through a simple, few exercises when I'm at the seminar to show you in a couple slides that show it, how you'll all agree, we've all adjusted people and thought there's nothing that's going to change. And all of a sudden, they come back the next day and they're like, man, my whole life has changed. You're like, I can't even believe I did anything to you. And that just goes to show how important the spine is and how influential your adjustment is. But it's not because this hard bone is literally compressing this nerve. So this is where we change the conversation. The beautiful part about this is when you do change the conversation, everything opens up. You explain this to one person, they're like, aha, I never knew that. Man, that makes so much sense. Even my old chiropractor, I was going to him for maybe a shoulder pain or maybe my back problems. I'm coming to you because I've got a neurology problem. My brain is not coordinating. Now you change the whole thing and watch the referrals come. Watch people be invited to your stuff, your dinners, your workshops, and more, even to your office, because you provide something unique. Why? Because you own it. You communicate it, and deep down, you're so convicted that they just, they can't help but want to be around it.
Awesome. Well, I want to keep these interviews short and power packed. We've already seen a huge, just a power mind shift right there, where we start focusing on the inside, not just writing the scripts out, not just studying and memorizing what to say, but actually feeding ourselves with this information, so it begins to innately just come out of us. But what is one thing that you would leave chiropractors with, something, a tip, a strategy, what would help them to really build that certainty, and maybe even today, like I have an adjusting set this afternoon, and what's one mindset or one thing I can do or say that's going to help me relate the message of chiropractic better?
Let me give you this, because so often we get the question of, I'll give you a very tactical, very practical thing, which is, so often you get the question of, doc, you just think, you tell me my spine's so important because that's what you do. I mean, you adjust it, you focus on it, you're a chiropractor, so that's what you do. Right there, let me show you how to immediately change the conversation. And not only that, because maybe they don't ask it, but what you can do with everyday one, and really even all your patients, you can make this very clear to them, so that when they're communicating it to their friends, neighbors, family, whatever, and here's what you say, Tabor, listen, if you ask me that question, you think that you just tell me how important the spine is because you deal with it. I'm like, listen, Tabor, I totally respect that. I mean, I get that, but here's the deal. If your nervous system and all the neurology that ran your body was in your arm, that's the only place that I would look, evaluate, make sure it was functioning at the highest level. It was all aligned. And if I had to adjust, that's the only place I would look. Because I'm not interested in your spine, I'm interested in your neurology. God just so happened to put it all in the spine. And not only just did he run it through the spinal cord, but the spine is actually surrounded through all the joints, all the tiny little ligaments, muscles, and the discs. All of that is surrounded. It's literally so populated with little neurons that are feeding your brain. And if those aren't moving appropriately or aligned appropriately, right? So if the spine is not aligned or moving appropriately, those neurons do not get triggered to the brain, and your body starts to deteriorate. We just know that's you don't even have to believe that is a fact. So back to it, we're not going to, like I said, if I would focus on your arm, if it was all in there, it's not, it's in your spine. That's why I look at the best research in the world supports that. And that's why we get such great results. That's why the first adjustment was done and helped the person hear. That's why, 1918, there was a flu that chiropractors, literally had 1/40 the death rate of people that were getting adjusted than medical. So we know 120 years worth of results. Now we have the evidence to support that. So you really need to, that's why we're so adamant about, we go over the top in education. So just a little strategy there, change the conversation and go with them. You're like, you know what? I totally get it. But if it was in your arm, I'd look there. They have to know we're not looking at the spine because it's the spine. We're spine doctors. We're looking at the spine because it's all where the neurology is. Therefore, it dictates the health.
Awesome. Well, that's a great example of owning the information, because I can tell you when you get asked a question, you hammer back with the flu epidemic, with all of these types of things. And that's what every single one of us needs to know. We need to know every single thing, so that when we do get a question, even if it's not exactly like the question we were prepared to answer, it'll just flow out of us. So I appreciate you, Dr. Sullivan. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for your passion. And I am excited about the seminar coming up and getting to hang out with you and your presentation there. So again, everybody, if you're watching this from a video, just scroll down below. You'll see all the information, and you can grab your tickets. And we encourage you to bring your whole team to this seminar. So you'll see that there are doctor tickets, CA tickets, and even student tickets available. And then if you're listening in from our audio, please go to chirothoughtleaders.com/Sullivan. That's SULLIVAN, and get your tickets today. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being with us, Dr. Dan. Appreciate you.
Yep. We'll see you there, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.